Welcome back, everybody. Rob Ellis, Barrett Brooks, Derek Gunn, hanging out with you on this Wednesday. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. We're thrilled to talk to our next guest. I said this earlier, BWest. What a perfect day to have you on, coming off the heels of that explosion of a running game that the Eagles had on Sunday night. But first off, man, good to see you. He's an Eagles Hall of Famer. You can follow him on Twitter at 36 Westbrook. At BWest, before we get started, man, tell the folks who may not know about your upcoming gig, your new endeavor that you're involved in.
Well, I became the director of player engagement for the XFL back in September. And so really it's all about helping these young men transition from the sport, right? And not necessarily transition, but also understand where they are in their career and then have the ability to push them forward in business, in employment, in their education, making sure that they can connect the dots with everything that they want to do outside of the lines of the football field, right? So I certainly want to help them on the field as much as I can, if I can kind of direct them in certain things the way I see the game. But more importantly than that, I want to make sure that these young men are better off the field than they are on the field.
See, I have to refer to him as Mr. BWest now. He won't even let me call him just BWest anymore since he's become a league executive. You know, I had to make an appointment just to talk to him now.
I'm a working man now. I have a schedule, I have a calendar, I got all this stuff. I got meetings all day long. I'm writing up emails, all types of crazy stuff. So it's just, but it's a, quite honestly, it's a labor of love. I've always understood that after the playing days, usually teams kind of push you to the side, right? Because they're focused on the guys that are playing.
Right.
We have the ability, especially as former players, we have the ability to say, hey, we have some connections, we have some avenues that we can open up to you as a current player that will help you as you transition out of the game.
Absolutely, man. In fact, I'm gonna give you a call a little later on, man. Talk about your horse farm endeavors, because I just bought some land, and it was a former horse farm.
Nice.
And I'm thinking about putting some horses back on it. You know what I'm saying? So, I'll give you a call about that, bro.
I'm gonna tell you right now, save your money, brother. Save your money. I can sell you a horse farm. You want a horse? I'll give you the horses, the tractors, and everything else. No,
hey, I want to know who's cleaning up the barn. That's what I want to know.
A lot of doggone work. It's fun. It's a great thing. I'm so super glad to talk to you about that. I love horses. I love, we're breeding horses. We're showing horses. We're doing all different types of things. Horses are a big part of our life, and we absolutely love being around.
I got about 18 acres, and I think I'm about to purchase, man. So
nice.
I'm thinking about purchasing it, man. So I got to talk to you before I pull the trigger. You know what I'm saying? Before I pull the trigger, I need to talk to you, bro.
God knows he doesn't want to talk to Derek or I about that. We would steer him wrong, BWest. That would not be pretty, man. I can tell you that much, man.
Hey, I got 3 dogs, and I don't want to clean up behind them.
I can't take care of one dog. I mean, please.
About horses. Whoa, geez.
Brian, where to start with Sunday? No, look, the Eagles are a phenomenal run team to begin with, but man, did you ever think you'd see them rip off that many yards as a team? I know, Hurts gets the headline because he went for, what was it, $157 or whatever. Yeah. But man, as a team, over 3 bills.
It's hard to go into any game thinking that if you punch somebody in the mouth enough, you'll get, 363 rushing. I mean, it's just hard to believe that those are passing numbers for great quarterbacks in the NFL, and to have the ability to consistently stay with the run enough in today's league it's a totally different thing. And I'm proud of this football team. I've always thought that Jeff Stoutland does a great job of getting his guys ready, getting that offensive line ready. Same similar thing that we had with Juan Castillo as our offensive line coach. He's done a great job of preparing the starters as well as subs that have to come in and play just a little bit. And when you have that ability up front, that changes the game plan, makes things a lot simpler. But you never really think that that's going to happen in today's age. Who's going to run the ball enough to get that many yards? Mm-hmm. Well, the team that's dominating, the team that believes in the run game, the team that says, you know what, if we run the ball successfully, we're not going to put our young quarterback in harm's way, and we're not going to turn the ball over. That's the type of team that can do it, a 10-1 football team.
Okay, B. Hey, we're going to run the ball, B. We're going to run it. Are you ready? We're going to run the ball.
That's right.
BWest, do you allow yourself to think what you could do behind that offensive line? What you could have done behind that offensive line?
I tell you, when I not only just the offense line, I had a very good offensive line. I think schemes are totally different. Yeah. I mean, when you're running against 5-man, 6-man, 5.5-man boxes, right? Where that means within that tackle space, you have 5 guys, maybe I say 5.5 because usually you have a guy overhanging to these 3 receiver sets. It's just, it makes it a lot easier to run against that, right? It just does. And then you have the RPO, element of it where your quarterback can rip off a run and the defensive end has to play that option. It just makes things a lot easier, and I'm scared to think about the types of stuff that I was able to do in this type of offense because, listen, Miles Sanders has just done a phenomenal job this year, and he looks different to me. Yeah. He's running with a different attitude, and that's what you want. You want that hungry running back, and when you have that hungry running back, a great offensive line, and a quarterback that can do the same type of thing, it just makes it difficult on the defense.
Yeah, what BWest is talking about back when we played, we used to call it, you used to have all right, we got 5 blockers, and then we have a tight end. So that's 6 blockers, and they'd have 8 men in the box, and they'd be like, hey, BWest, that's yours right there. You got to make him miss. That's your man. He'd be like, I thought he was getting the ball. Yeah, but he knows he's got to make him miss to get where he has to go. So that's what that is. But just looking at the maturation that Hurts brings to that running offense. I know you played with Mac, and Mac was totally different by the time you guys really got into it, where he wasn't trying to run anymore. He wanted to be that drop back quarterback. What do you think is the biggest difference in the maturation of Hurts and his progression and still, and he's still trying to reach to still be that type of guy along with his ability to pass the ball?
Well, he's gotten much better in the passing side, so I'll talk about that second. But when you talk about the run game, I go back to the beginning of this past game, and they wanted to get things going, and they weren't handing the ball off. They were saying, okay, we're going to spread you out. We're going to block you up front, and our quarterback's going to get it done, and you can't stop it. The NFL is not built to stop running quarterbacks. It's just not built to do it.
Yep.
And he's smart enough, fast enough to be able to elude defenders, smart enough not to take any big shots. He's able to just do some things with his legs. He's not Michael Vick. He's not. But he is a quality running quarterback that has the ability to get things done in the run game. And it changes how defenses are now forced to play you. Now you have to decide, do we want to stop Jalen Hurts in his run game, or do we want to stop Miles Sanders? Which is a crazy thought for defenses. And then when I talk about his passing ability, he's completing 67% of his passes, but they look totally different. His ability to get the ball out quickly, understand exactly where he's going with the ball, his rhythm, his accuracy, he looks totally different from last year. And quite honestly, people can say what they want. I was one of those guys that were doubting if he had the ability to improve enough to be the quarterback that we are seeing right now. I knew he was going to work hard. I knew he was going to, get better. But was he going to have the improvement that we needed to see to get him to this point? I didn't know that he had the ability to do that. And watching him week in and week out, he continues to show me he's a quality passer, no doubt about it. He makes good decisions in the RPO game. And if he uses his legs, he can hurt a defense. It's hard to defend a team like that.
BWest, do you worry that it's a little too much in terms of the attempts for him? We have this age-old debate all the time. Barrett's like, hey, do what you got to do. Don't play to your strengths, etc. But there are others that say you keep putting yourself in harm's way, even though he's not reckless, that's right? Me. And Gunner's one of them. Even though he's not a reckless guy, he's not, Michael Vick would take more chances, I think, than Jalen does. But do you worry about that at all?
I think he's young. And I think when I was young, you take more chances, you probably get hit a little bit more, and you deal with it. That's just part of being young. Yeah. And you have the ability to bounce back. I think he's made very good decisions. I think the other part is that the hits that he's taking are from DBs that are actually smaller than him. Right. So, he's not taking hits by, all the defensive linemen up front, besides the 28 sacks that he has to fix. That's one thing that he has to figure out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's taking big shots. I'm not as concerned with him running the football and getting hit, only because he's not getting blindsided. Right? You can prepare for those hits that you see, just like in boxing. The punches that hurt you are the ones that you don't see coming. He can prepare for some of these hits. I think he's been very smart and judicious in his running, and I'm not concerned with that at all.
BWest, one question I've always wanted to ask you over the last few months. I got you now. So, Miles Sanders, LaShawn McCoy, Brian Westbrook. Who's a better runner?
Oh man,
the better runner, probably LaShawn McCoy. I think he had an ability. He had a lot more opportunities, and Miles is getting those opportunities now. I think LaShawn is the better runner. I think Miles is getting much better. I think he's improved dramatically this year. He looks totally different. Again, like I mentioned, he looks focused. He understands where the holes are going to be. He's not trying to outrun people. He's now slashing through the defense. I mean, he's using his speed and his physicality. Most importantly, he's making that first man miss. And when you make that first man miss, the game opens up for you. But, if I had to rate him, LaShawn probably is the best runner out of the group. He's had a lot more opportunities. And you talk about someone that can make that first man miss. He's made a living off of making – first of all, he made a living off holding the ball like a doggone loaf of bread. I told him for the bread, I'm like, bro,
he never fumbled though, Brian.
Never fumbled. And so I used to preach it to him early on in his career, but he never fumbled. He would always say, but I don't fumble, Wes. And I'm like, but you can't do that. Like the old heads say you can't do it. Right? That's what it is. But he's probably the best runner. I think Miles will continue to get better. I appreciate what Miles is doing. He understands his role. I saw him last week. And my words to him were simple. Stay focused, stay on your grind. You're doing everything that you have to do to get that long-term contract that everybody wants, of course, especially at that running back position. And I truly do believe that if this team wants to go where I think they can, he's going to be a big part of it. And he understands that. And that's what you need. You need guys to buy into the system. He has bought in, and he's become, when I look at the numbers, look at the rushing yards, top 5 in the league. 900 rushing yards on the season already. Great season for Miles Sanders so far.
I'm not letting that one go. I'm sorry.
Wait, you chastised me first. No. Now you can't let it go.
Most complete running back. Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy, or Miles Sanders. Most complete, all phases of the game, including run blocking and pass blocking.
I was the most complete running back. And from this perspective, I wasn't called upon to run the ball 30 times a game. That wasn't our game. And with Andy Reid and Donovan, that was never going to be our game. Now, did I have the ability to do that in spurts? Absolutely. There were games where I got 20, 25 touches and was well over 100 yards. So, I mean, I had that ability. But the best of my ability personally was to get involved in the passing game, to be an edge runner, to get on the edge and do different things inside of the tackles. And then, of course, blocking. That was a big part of my game. None of these other guys, they don't do that. That's not what they specialize in. But over time, they'll continue to get better at those things, and especially Miles. LaShawn was good at blocking when he wanted to. He was all right.
When he wanted to.
That wasn't his thing, right? I mean, that wasn't what they asked him to do. They wanted him to go out there and get some rushing yards, and he was great at doing that.
Well, hey, I'm going to go into your expertise, man. You're lined up, 7 yards from the ball. How the hell are people running through our defense like they're running through it? Tell me what you see, which makes our defense so apt at not being able to stop the run consistently.
Gap integrity. At some point, Marty Morningwig used to say this to me all the time. He said at some point, this is a man beat a man game, right? I'm going to line up across from you, especially the offensive defensive line. And my job is to beat you up. Your job is to beat me up. And there are times at the point of attack, we're losing those battles. Okay. And if you don't have gap integrity in this league and you have a linebacker overrunning, then you're going to get gashed. And that's what we've been doing, through the course of this season. We've been getting gashed in situations where we have not had good gap integrity. And because of that, our run defense has struggled. And now that opens up the pass game. That opens up the play action game. It opens up all different types of things that can happen against this defense. And that's why you go out and you get two of the biggest guys that play the game, and Sue and Joseph. And you got to try to figure out. You're trying to get another big guy back in Davis. So, you're trying to figure out how to stop that. And you want that front four. It's clear to me they want that front four, that front five to stop the run. That's why they can keep bringing in these big guys. Your linebackers have to figure things out as well.
Hey, B, I want to take it back to Miles for just a moment, because you were in a similar situation as well when it comes to a contract year. And I've said a couple of times in the past month, I think Miles is running with more of a purpose and is running harder than I've ever seen him run. I mean, he's breaking tackles. He's keeping the legs moving, which is very significant in terms of the amount of yards he's accumulated running the ball this year. Take me through the psyche of a running back, especially in a time and era where the running back is disrespected in the National Football League in terms of overall pay, of what Miles is going through to get his, let's say, financial respect.
Well, I think, just listening to some of the things Miles has said, and I'm talking about before this season, primarily in the offseason, through Twitter, social media, whatever, Instagram, is that he felt disrespected. And there's no more motivated player than a guy that's fighting for a contract, a guy that feels disrespected, a guy that's going to that people are saying, well, I don't know if you're good enough. You're not living up to what you thought you were. There's no more motivated player than that. And so we all knew, I knew, Miles, he's a hard worker. He goes out there and busts his butt. I thought he could run harder. And this year he's running harder. To your point, he's running harder. I mentioned earlier, he's making the first man miss. And so now his only goal mentally, and of course he'll never say this, but I think this is true, he wants to get paid. Everybody wants to get paid. Everybody wants to get paid and appreciated financially, right?
It's all the money.
Yeah, I want all the money. I told B the same thing. Get all the money. You want to get the pat on your back, but you also want that pat in the pocket too.
That's right.
And I think a big part of what he's been able to do is generated by that need and that hunger to be respected. Now, here's a funny thing. Now that he's experiencing it, this is a life lesson for these young players. Now that he's experiencing how much success he can have running this particular style, I don't think he goes backwards. I think he continues to get better year after year because now he's saying, yeah, he's going to get paid, hopefully by the Eagles after this season, and hopefully he continues to run like this. This is a style that he has to adapt, something that he's been very good at. And I think when you pair that running game and then what Jalen Hurts is doing, it's just hard to stop.
Well, look at your number. Give me your number one guy that you would sign on this team right now. Who would be your priority on this team going into next year that's on the roster right now? We have a lot of free agents on the defensive side of the ball, a couple on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah. Who would you say is the number one guy you have to have back next year?
Oh, that's a good one, B, because let's if I'm talking offensively, and I don't have the list of free agents in front of me, but if I'm thinking offensively, your quarterback is probably already in the fold, so you don't have to worry about him, right? Offensive line is usually pretty good. Is that right? I just don't have the list.
Yeah, they're all up. Right. Yeah, they're
all pretty good. A.J. Brown's good. Smith is good. Goddard. So offensively, the only person the first person I think about is Miles Sanders. Get him back.
Yep.
And here's the hard part. What do you pay Miles Sanders?
Yeah.
Right? He's having a career year. What do you pay him? Do you pay him $10 million?
Is that career year? Is that career year? Is that career year here in Philadelphia, or are we trying to put him up with the upper echelon back? Would you put him up there? That's what I really want to know. Where would you put Miles right now for the Saquon Barkleys, the guys that are going to get paid next year?
Well, I think Saquon. I mean, let's say, let me think of the top two. Derrick Henry's one. One of one. Saquon is one.
Yeah.
Do I think that Miles is on the same level as Saquon right now? No, he hasn't proved to be able to be. Saquon came back with a vengeance this year.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Right. So he's not on that level yet.
What about Pollard?
Tony Pollard is really, really
a bad man.
He's fast. It's a different type of scheme for him, but he's good. I would take Miles Sanders over Pollard, but Pollard has been very successful. And very productive in that offense. I mean, he's like a lightning bolt compared to Zeke's. I need 30 carries a game type of thing.
Yep.
I still would take Miles Sanders over Pollard. But listen, Miles is getting better. He's on the way up.
Yes.
He's getting better. He's not getting worse. He's getting better. And I think, again, to my earlier point, I think he runs harder these next couple years after this. Now, can he sustain that for 5-6 years? I don't know. Who knows that anymore? We don't see very many running backs sustaining success for a long period of time unless you're Derrick Henry and you're 6'3", 250, right? It's hard to do that without significant injury. But I think Miles has been playing as well as any running back in the NFL this year.
But BWest, I think when you compare Miles to Jonathan Taylor, even who's a back who's of similar build to a Miles, Jonathan Taylor's carrying the ball 28, 33 times a game. Miles Sanders is averaging maybe 17 times a game. I think it handcuffs him in terms of his bargaining chip, in terms of whether it's his market value with the Eagles or his market value on the open market.
Well, when I look at 5.1 yards per carry,
right,
that's my bargaining chip. If I'm Miles Sanders, the Eagles didn't give me opportunity to carry the ball 25 times. I can be Jonathan Taylor. Now, and I'll tell you this. I think Jonathan Taylor, in my mind, feels a little bit quicker, a little bit more shifty, but same size, same build. I think if you give Miles Sanders 28 carries in the game, I think he'll be right there with Jonathan Taylor with as far as yardage wise. But 5.1 yards a carry, take me to the bargaining table and tell me that you can do better than that. That would be my comment. This is what I do. One of the things that, even when I was going back for contracts, I was like, listen, I know what you're going to say. You're trying to compare me to Adrian Peterson, Tiki Barber, what all these guys do. I touch the ball 16 times a game in the run game, 15, 12, 13. We can't compare that. We can compare impact on the game. Take me out the game. You don't think I impact the game? Take me out. Same thing for Miles Sanders. Yeah, if you're telling me that he is not the guy that you want or the guy that you wanted to pay, take him out and see what happens. I think there is a drop in talent. I think Kenneth Gainwell has played very well when he's got an opportunity. There's still a drop in talent from Miles Sanders to Kenneth Gainwell, period.
Yes.
I love Boston Scott. I mean, I absolutely love Boston Scott. He's a good friend of mine. There's a drop in talent from Miles Sanders to Boston Scott. It's clear, but that's why he's a starting running back. That's why he was a second-round pick. He has super talent. I think he'll continue to get better. I'm super proud of what he's doing this season.
BWest, let me ask you about the NFC East, man. You got Eagles 10-1, Cowboys 8-3, Giants 7-4, Commanders 7-5. I mean, it is a juggernaut. They could all get into the playoffs. It's not crazy. I mean, we're going way back. The last time the NFC East was this complete as a division.
I'm shocked that Washington has figured it out. I mean, I thought they were going to have Carson Wentz the whole season. I knew that was just going to crash and burn. With Heineke, they figured things out. That team has taken a different mindset. You get Robinson back running the football hard. At some point, they'll get Chase Young back. I think he might have come back last week. And they'll play better.
Play this week. He might play this week.
Play this week, okay. So I'm shocked by Washington and their ability to be 7-4. That blows my mind. The Giants somehow have gotten better. I don't know. I never believed that Daniel Jones somehow have gotten better. And the Cowboys, I thought they had talent. I just didn't think they would ever get it going. You know, the one thing I know about the Cowboys is that in a pressure situation, they'll fold. They always have for the last 20 years. They folded. And so I'm completely sure of that. And so I still believe that we're the best team in our division. There's no doubt about it, even with the loss to Washington. You know, but it's surprising to see the NFC East bounce back from being a subpar league with really one good team to a place where you got teams 7, 8, 10 wins. That's impressive.
I'm just letting you know, man. I'm still in that, man. I'm still in that, bro. You should have trademarked it when you had a chance. Take me out. Take me out. You'll see the product. Take me out. That's huge.
I had to say that one time. I went into the press conference, and I don't know if D-Gun remembers this, but it was one point I was waiting for my contract, and I was like, man, I don't want to talk to the press. And, you know, I don't think I spoke to the press, the media, all mini camp or maybe training camp. Then finally I was pissed off. And so one day I went into it. I was like, all right, well, I wrote down some things.
Yes.
I'm valuable to this team because of this. Go ask the defensive coordinators when they come to Philadelphia who they're trying to stop. You know, and all those different things. And listen, Miles is a big part of that. But on this team, it's a little bit different. They're going to say Miles. They're going to say trying to stop Hurts. They're going to say trying to stop A.J. Brown. When Goddard gets back, trying to stop him. So it's a little bit different. But you always got to think about Miles Sanders, especially with this football team. I think he has some leverage when you talk about money.
I like that, though. I like that.
Yep.
All right.
Well said.
That's two things from I get from. I want all the money. That's number one. That's the first thing he told me. I want all the money, number one. Yeah. And number two, take me out there.
That's right.
Take me out of sports take. See what you
I had to say that to Joe Banner. Well, listen, because what happens in negotiations, they say, well, you're not him, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. And so I was like, well, what are we talking about? You want me back on this team, right? So listen, you know, if I can't do any of those things, you need to go get those guys that can do it. Let me look that once and appreciate what I can do. And you know, I kind of say that in fun, but those are conversations that you have during some of those negotiations.
How hard was he to negotiate with, Brian? I mean, was it like we have all heard? We've all heard some tough stories.
Oh, my goodness.
It was worse.
He had the team's interests in mind, and for that, he wanted them to, make the most money, which means not play the players as much. And he had a view of where you thought you should be paid at. You should be paid the same level as Tiki Barber. Well, I think I'm better than Tiki Barber. I want to get paid like these elite running backs. And if he didn't really, Joe wasn't really budging on some of those things. And unfortunately, I think Joe was a really smart guy. I think he is a really smart guy. I just didn't like his tactics, right? I don't have to dog Barrett Brooks out to not pay him as much. I can say, hey, this is what I'm willing to pay you. And I think you're a great payer, but this is where I'm willing to pay you. I don't have to talk about all the bad things that Brian Westbrook does to try to justify where I want to pay you. This is just what I think. This is what we're willing to pay. And if you're not willing to accept that, I understand. I want the best for you as a player. That best for you may not be here, but I want you here. I'm willing to pay you this, and let's figure out a way to make that work, would be my approach. His approach was always a little bit different, where he wanted to talk bad about you and then expect you to come back and it was all good. Right? It's hard for me to work that way.
Yeah, well said. Well said. All right, Brian. Well, listen, man. Good luck with the new gig. We're thrilled for you, and we love talking. We just love talking football with you, catching up with you, man. It's always a pleasure.
I love you guys' show, man. Continue good work with you guys. Continue success, man. This was all about Fully Football, talking to the people that know it best.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, B.
Thanks, BWest.
man.
Talk to you soon, man. All right, take care. How about Gunner? How about Barrett trying to work in advice for his potential new horse farm with BWest?
Oh yeah. I'm on the break.
He weaseled that in there, man.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
did you catch that? This dude always crying poverty.